Hi, there's far too much cleverness in the world to hide any bits or pieces. I wanted to share a little bit of what has seemed to catch on my Instagram posts. I'm amazed you all feel this way, but let's not tarry too much. Let's get into it. This is a little patch I call Digestion, and it's very straightforward. It's using a lot of what is kind of just coming out and Ableton 12 being part of it. So apologies those of you who want to reenact this immediately. It it may not be possible with your versioning, but I guarantee soon, and again with just a little bit of extras. So let's kind of get into it. Coalescence here, Dillon Bastan. I don't know if I'm saying Dillon's name properly. Coalescence is like a very meta granulator. It allows you to have insight into multiple samples being arranged together. I'm not nearly scratching the surface on all of it. I quite honestly got it and then immediately wanted to jump into it. And so I just started with the first thought, best thought forward. I have some instances in a MIDI clip, and then off and away I just grab a sample. And you can see what happens here is the granulator is doing its thing in the sense that the speed is very slowed and all the pitch is kind of warbly and wavering. It's not the full sound you heard, but it's a hint at what's to come. And I knew what I needed next is to dip into Alexander Panos's color transfer. Here's the Timbre ReSynth that is being pushed. Its FFT is being pushed by the bully bass. Let's take a listen to that. And this is where a lot of our digestion comes from. This is the timbre and formant being pushed through cluster. Now, cluster has an aleatoric property, but you can bring it back to zero easily as triggering the reinstancing. So once again, we've picked a part of a sample. That part, that piece, that pluck, that grain is being slowed very, very much down to 2.48% of the total. Cluster here is then oscillating around a central source. It is all in communication. You can kind of see the ways by which all these different points are being arranged together, and nothing is random. The main offset and main bias is being directed towards itself. So it is making this additional amount of animation and motion. Now, the Timbre ReSynth here, bully bass, is an instance of Meld. I haven't barely pushed around Meld. I haven't done anything to augment or change up these. It would be so easy to do to make this even more felt, even more pushed. The one thing to note is the drive is up here, and that little bit of spread to give it that warble, that waver. Spread is a new function that is really quite clever, where you can have multiple functions that are then kind of given an extra bit of, it's almost like an LFO or oscillation, but of things that you wouldn't normally necessarily have. This through roar then pushes the sound even more forward, more particular. It's been noted in many places roar is a super evolution of the saturator, the overdrive, and similar functions from Ableton 11 and before. But roar also has a matrix function where you can have kind of multiple modulators working. Now in this case, I'm not totally availing myself of that. You can kind of see here, there's just a little bit of, there's nothing going in terms of extra animations in there, but I am making use of this drive function, which has a similar listening kind of quality. And then multiband here, hyping up the lows and mids, but the highs are left untreated, out of the way. I am fully compressing it though, because I wanted that compression feeling, the kind of focusing to enact before the OTT. OTT making every single little quaver that much more pushy and felt. So remember when I didn't push the highs? Well, this is doing that job. It fills in the gaps. It's reaching into the sound and getting forth the highs to have their say-so. And now this could be enough. This is like already quite cinematic, but it doesn't have the kind of extra bit of animation and motion that I really want to search for. So Sling Filter is that place to give it that extra bit of upset stomach, let's say. It's so reductive. It's such a felt thing. But you can see already where the kind of, it's not random again, I'm using the multiplying ripple function and a rate which is slow, but then it can really play across the sound. And that's the central part of this patch. Everything here will repeat as it goes. Everything will come back around as it gets to the end of its little life cycle here. Now, it is important to note that you have to have these like small MIDI instances on the screen to make it so that we have just the right order of operation in terms of how things are proceeding. You see on Coalescence, I have these 2 MIDI notes in close proximity, and then in the bully bass, I equally have a note played. And this is just going to make it so that the sound in the background, you can't even hear the bully bass if I bring it in. Just a central tone, but it has frequency characteristics that color transfer is then listening towards. That's really important. So thank you so much. That is indeed what was going. And I hope you all recreate the exact same, if not different and disparate. It is notable that with Coalescence, I have multiple samples in there. It's just picking a section of one and distending it. You could do the same thing with Granulator 2 or now Granulator 3, I believe. It may take on different format. Dillon has more under the hood in terms of the way it latches, in terms of the way it plays through, in terms of the way it like highlights. So I do recommend it highly. I recommend all these third-party indie makers to this incredible degree, because that's where the sound is most resonant, is in the ears and hands of creators that are trying to express from you your most. Not to say that, you know, the really fancified and heavily shimmered, gooey plug-in artists out there aren't doing similar. It's just something about knowing that the hands of similar and those of, you know, to the left and right of you kind of having their say-so, and it's important, and it has its place. So thank you so much, and I hope if you make something out of something similar, do share. I'm all ears, ever. Bye, y'all.